Palestinian officials reported on Tuesday that Israeli bombing strikes on southern part of the Gaza Strip killed dozens of locals in the cities of Rafah and Khan Yunis. In Argentina, Javier Milei's government announced the firing of more than 7,000 state employees as part of its austerity measures. State workers get ready to fight the measure on the streets. In Thailand, authorities noted that at least 4 people are still missing and some 20,000 people have been affected by severe flooding in the south of the country following a heavy storm. Hello and welcome to From the South. I am Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Palestinian officials reported on Tuesday that Israeli bombing strikes on the southern part of the Gaza Strip killed dozens of locals in the cities of Rafah and Khan Yunis. In turn, local media also denounced Israeli warplanes bombed residential buildings in Khan Yunis, Deir al-Balah, and al-Shaboura refugee camps. According to the Ministry of the Health in Gaza, the injured were transferred to Kuwait Hospital for medical treatment. In this sense, the institution stressed that in addition to the dead and wounded, many people are still missing under the rubble. Through the siege of the Israeli occupation forces in Gaza, the occupation army killed 20,674 Palestinians, wounded more than 50,000, and displaced almost all of the 2.3 million inhabitants of the territory. The Israeli occupation forces took over a sports stadium in Gaza and turned it into a concentration camp where hundreds of Palestinian civilians are being held prisoner. Among those kidnapped are old people and children who were forced to undress, as well as Palestinian babies whose ages do not exceed 1 year. Let us recall that the United Nations and human rights organizations have confirmed that Israeli forces are carrying out executions against civilians after forcibly removing them from displacement centers. On Monday, the Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva affirmed that it is not humanly possible to accept what is happening in the Gaza Strip. Through his account on the social network X, the Brazilian president said, "Today, this Christmas, I had lunch with Brazilians and repatriated Palestinians who arrived in Brazil. It is not humanly possible to accept what is happening in the Gaza Strip. The death of so many women and children, the destruction of all the heritage built by the Palestinian people. Brazil will continue to seek, together with other countries, a way to peace. And I want to ask everyone not to lose hope in peace and harmony." Palestinian authorities stressed on Tuesday that at least 491 Israeli soldiers have been killed after more than 70 days of intensified violence against civilians in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. On the other hand, the Israeli occupation army announced the death of an officer and a soldier of the Zionist regime during the fighting in the southern Gaza Strip. The agency added that they are Reserve Sergeant Elisha Jonathan Luber from the settlement of Yitzhar and Reserve Sergeant Joseph Gidarz out of the battalion of Tel Aviv. In turn, the military occupation forces also added that 4 troops were seriously wounded in fighting on Monday, and a reservist from the 6,646th Battalion was injured in the north of the Strip. In Israel, hundreds of Zionist settlers protested in Tel Aviv against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to demand the release of prisoners detained by the Palestinian resistance movement Hamas. The demonstration took place in front of the War Ministry, where protesters gathered in rejection of Benjamin Netanyahu's government and blaming him as sole responsible for the lives of prisoners in Gaza. Since the Palestinian-Israeli conflict in Gaza reached the peak on October 7th, many Israelis have demanded the resignation of the Prime Minister and the War Minister, in addition to calling for a ceasefire in Gaza to allow the return of hostages to their families. On Tuesday, the Iranian Defense Ministry said the country's response to the assassination of high-ranking general would be smart and strong.
Our reaction to the assassination will be smart, strong, and with the necessary effectiveness in a way that the Zionist regime will not have any possibility to use the response in its complicated purposes. The Islamic Republic of Iran, with its deterrence power and various capabilities, has the capability of a strong and smart response to these sort of crimes, as it has had at the proper opportunity, time and place, and with an adequate method. This source of terrorist crimes will be answered indeed.
Iraq condemned the recent United States attacks on Iraqi territory that left at least one dead and several wounded. The Iraqi government confirmed Tuesday the death of one person and the wounding of 18 others, including several civilians, in the U.S. attacks last night against Iraqi militia installations located in the city of Hilla. Baghdad stated that attacking Iraqi military sites by the United States under the pretext of a response is a hostile and unconstructive act. Previously, Iraqi militias had attacked a U.S. base in the town of Erbil, leaving at least 3 soldiers wounded. In Vatican City on Tuesday, Pope Francis renewed his call for peace for war-torn peoples and summoned the peoples of the world to fight for peace.
In the sign of the Stephen witness, I am close to the Christian communities that suffer discrimination, and I urge them to preserve in charity towards all, striving peacefully for justice and religious freedom. To the intercession of the first martyr, I also entrust the invocation of peace by war-torn peoples. The media show us what war produces. We have seen Syria, we see Gaza, we think of the tormented Ukraine, a desert of death. It is what is wanted. The peoples want peace. Let us pray for peace. Let us fight for peace.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates and more. All the stories coming up, stay with us. In Argentina, Javier Milei's government announced the firing of more than 7,000 state employees as part of its austerity measures. According to a decree published by the Argentine government, it prohibits the renewal of contracts for public workers hired in 2023. The decree also stipulates that all labor contracts signed by the state before 2023 will be renewed. The official document recalls that the reduction is based on the emergency decrees introduced by Milei, which modified the national structure, reducing the number of ministries from 18 to 8. For this reason, the General Secretary of the Capital State Workers Association, Daniel Catalano, denounced the economic measure promoted by Milei and denounced that his measure do not solve anything and only promotes more poverty and unemployment. In Argentina, the Association of State Workers, AID, rejected the dismissal of some 7,000 state workers. ACCO reading to the association, the dismissals implemented by the government of Javier Milei represents an attack against labor rights. The ATA assured that it will not accept a single one of the layoffs, and in this sense, the national leadership will mobilize on Wednesday at 11 a.m. in front of the National Palace of Justice in Buenos Aires. Meanwhile, in the rest of the provinces, the day will be developed with strikes, mobilizations, assemblies, and road strips. In this way, the state workers promise to deepen the plan of struggle against the policies of Javier Milei's government. On the other hand, the president of Argentina, Javier Milei, made official on Tuesday the call for extraordinary sessions in the Congress to deal with 11 laws related to the reform of the state, tax matters, and the application of the single paper ballot in the elections. The Congress will work until January 31st after the order of President Milei to interrupt the recess of the legislative branch and begin to session on the new package of laws. It should be noted that the new administration, in addition to modifying more than 300 laws, has anticipated that it will establish more radical proposals. Among the most significant items are a bill to prevent each party to present its own ballot in the elections, and also brand new legislative projects to approve in tax matters. In Argentina, an avalanche destroyed a pedestrian bridge and isolated the town of Rincón, located in the department of Beaumont in the south of the Argentine province of Catamarca. The pedestrian bridge, inaugurated a little over a month ago, was swept away by the flooding of the Ambato River due to the heavy rains which caused the rivers to swell. For its part, the government of Catamarca, throughout its account on social network X, highlighted that no deaths or injuries have been reported, but only damage to houses and vehicles swept away by the river. It should be noted that the official report pointed out that this is the second bridge destroyed by the weather conditions in less than 10 days in the whole province. After the collapse of the bridge, the inhabitants of the town of Rincón were completely isolated. In Venezuela, firefighters and civil protection rescuers fought a large forest fire in Henry Pittier National Park in the north of Aragua State on Monday. Through videos disseminated through social networks, the civil protection teams announced that around 250 hectares of the park had been affected by a fire detected on Sunday on Christmas Eve. The Vice Minister for Forest Management and Civil Protection, Carlos Pérez Ampueda, indicated through the social network X that the fire had already been 90% controlled and that the mitigation work continues with the use of helicopters and personnel with hand tools. The German weather service DWD today warned of the risk of flooding in many parts of the territory due to the continuous rains, which has already caused the evacuation of 500,000 citizens in the northern Thuringia, in the center of the country. Residents were evacuated from their homes in different regions of Germany on Christmas Day when heavy rains and soggy ground caused flooding and rising waters. Areas in the regions of Thuringia and Lower Saxony were particularly affected. Images from the town of Windhausen in Thuringia showed houses, fields and streets submerged in flood waters as people forced from their homes were cared for in an emergency shelter. In the western German city of Oberhausen, firefighters and officials from Federal Agency for Technical Relief reinforced a dike on the Asia River with sandbags in attempt to prevent flooding due to the high water levels. In Thailand, authorities noted that at least 4 people are still missing and some 20,000 people have been affected by severe flooding in the south of the country following a heavy storm. In this sense, emergency crews continue to search for 4 people who were on an evacuation boat that capsized in Narathiwa province. Some residents reported that the water level exceeded 2 meters high and that due to this they were forced to take shelter on upper floors and roofs. The Prime Minister of Thailand expressed his concern about the situation and indicated that he will travel to the affected area to inspect and supervise the emergency and rescue works. Air and rail travel in India's capital, New Delhi, were disrupted on Tuesday as a thick blanket of fog engulfed the region, reducing visibility to barely 50 meters in some areas. The Central Pollution Control Board confirmed that the air quality index had reached 376 units, while levels of 0 to 50 are considered good. On the other hand, the Meteorological Department warned of the impact it could have on the health of the city's 20 million inhabitants. In this sense, according to India's news agency, at least 30 flights due to land at or depart from Delhi airport, including those on international routes, were delayed due to the dense fog. The news agency also said some 14 trains running in the northern India were affected. In the Democratic Republic of the Congo, at least 4 people were killed and 20 others are reported missing after a river swept through a building in South Kivu on Sunday. The accident occurred in the rural and mining area of Mwenga, where local people were sheltering from heavy rains in a hangar that served as a restaurant on the banks of a river. According to Alexandre Ngandu, deputy mayor of the town of Kamituga, the heavy rains provoked a landslide that caused significant physical and material damage. Experts in the region confirmed that extreme weather events are becoming more frequent and intense due to the current climate change. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage flooding America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. Major international banks have cut more than 60,000 jobs this year. By 2023, the world's 20 largest banks cut at least 61,905 jobs, according to Financial Times estimates. This contrasts with more than 140,000 jobs cut by the same banks during the global financial crisis of 2007 and 2008. The newspaper noted that investment banks suffered a second consecutive year of falling fees due to the lack of public deals and quotes. So Wall Street is trying to protect profits margins through jobs cuts. The largest reduction, 20%, occurred at the UK's Metro Bank, followed by Switzerland's UBS with 10%, and in third place was Goldman Sachs with 7%. On Monday, the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, received the leaders of the Community of Independent States in St. Petersburg. According to local authorities, the leaders will take stock of the closing year, address issues of mutual cooperation, and discuss some topical international issues. In addition, Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said that the countries of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and the Community of Independent States agreed to intensify military exchanges. He also said that the participants recognize the need to improve the mechanisms for the exchange of security-related information and to hold operational and combat training exercises. In Albania, more than 40 people were injured after a fire broke out in a shopping and residential center in Luzhna. On Monday, dozens of citizens experienced moments of horror when a fire on the third floor of a shopping mall in Luzhna quickly spread to apartments above. The operation of evacuation of citizens was coordinated by the fire department, culminating after about 5 hours, while the fire spread throughout the 12-story building. Some 39 citizens and 3 employees of the fire department were evacuated and sent to hospital for medical assistance, whose lives are out of danger. A special investigation group under the direction of the Public Prosecutor's Office continues to work to clarify the circumstances of the incident and to determine the cause of the fire, but it's presumed to be a spark in the electrical system.
Firefighters and special police forces managed to get in on time in those apartments they were told there were no people in. After verification and entering by force into this apartment, the special police forces found asphyxiated people. They are due to their work, and also thanks to God, now they are out of life danger and are being taken care of. As a representative of the Health Ministry,
The Democratic Republic of the Congo's Electoral Commission on Monday continued to release partial results from the presidential election, with the incumbent leader Felix Tshisekedi leading by a wide margin of over 80% of the vote. The results announced so far relate to 1,876,827 voters out of a total of nearly 44 million registered in a country of around 100 million inhabitants. At this stage of the vote count, according to electoral authority, Shiket Sedi, who has ruled since 2019 and is running for a new term, achieved a score of 81%. He was followed by former governor of Katanga, Moise Katumbi, with 15.18%. The poll was set for one day, but it was extended into Christmas in some remote areas due to the logistical problems. In addition, there were allegations of irregularities by the opposition, which has demanded the annulment of the vote. In North Macedonia, children of all ages and backgrounds at the Roma Rock School are brought together to jam, learn and overcome deep divisions in the multicultural Balkan country. Founded in 2017 after-school program offers courses in music theory, instrument and voice classes along with practice space for aspiring young musicians to rock out. One of its primary focuses have been recruiting children from Jokke, largest Roma neighborhood of Suto Orisari, where poverty and a lack of opportunities have remained stubbornly entrenched. Along with economic and societal prejudices, North Macedonia's Roma community have remained largely excluded from formal education in the arts, despite the community's rich history of music and performance. Currently, Roma Rock School works with around 60 activity students between the ages of 18 and 19. We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.